Evening, everybody. Now, if you can hear us, give us a thumbs up. Tonight, we've got a special show for you. All sorts of news. First of all, I was horribly wrong, and I'm going to correct that in tonight's episode about the Bronco. So we're talking Maverick. We're talking Bronco. We're talking about general information about recalls, so little consumer reports, reliability studies, if you can really call them that. They're certainly not scientific studies. Be like... Anyways, we'll get into that. Anyways, we've got a good show tonight. We're going to be breaking up the show into different episodes. So episode 1, or part 1 of the show, we're going to be talking about, well, dealer inventory. What's the state of that dealer inventory? Episode 2, we're going to be talking about Ford Mavericks that have actually arrived. What do they look like? What's on them? What's going on with them? And really break down when were they ordered? When did they get scheduled? When did they actually go to the plant to get built? How long did it take for them to get built? And then after how long, we always want to know, how long does it take to get built? When does it go to the factory? Are they on time? So we're going to be talking all about that. We'll be talking about what happens when things go off to the body shop. Like Marie's went off to the body shop for an entire month. Total mix up there. We'll talk about what was missing on her order as a good reminder of what you need to do to make sure everything's hunky-dory and a-okay when it comes in. Yes, I'm a little corny, but that's me. So we're going to be talking about all that and, of course, actual delivery time. Once it's built, what can you expect? So really, we're going through the whole Maverick experience. It's interesting. You lived through it, biting your, you don't bite your nails, but it's an expression, biting your nails. I got to explain it. French and English do not have the same expressions, and it can cause couples fights when you don't understand each other. Communication is key, folks. And then we're talking about episode 3, Ford Bronco engine details and how I was horribly wrong.
Wow.
And then we'll be going on to episode 4, recalls and consumer reports, reliability studies. So don't be fooled, folks. You'll want to make it to that. And then episode 5 of this live is going to be about live questions answered. So Q&A live. So you can throw some real tough ones at me and watch me sweat. It's fun stuff, folks. Now, Marie tonight, just as a sideline before we get down to business, Marie tonight said, you can't call things episodes. Tim does that. And it reminded me of that South Park episode where it was all about Simpsons did that. So they're joking around at how Simpsons had done everything. Well, Tim Bartz has also basically done everything. He's a legend. So I always appreciate when he's in the community every week. And I'm on his show every week. And sometimes I watch it in replay because, well, driving home and whatnot. So you're in for a treat tonight, and the reason I called these episodes is, well, because I really like Star Wars, and we'll be talking about that in our live members. We'll be talking about personal information. You can ask us questions, and really the whole membership experience. Yes, of course, it helps support the channel, and we truly appreciate it. It helps us long-term, a lot of these vehicles, long-term review, and also long-haul these vehicles. So sometimes we drive these vehicles for days to put them through their paces. Well, that costs money in regards to depreciation. It costs money in regards to fuel, and it takes up time. So membership really helps. So we want to tonight say thank you very much to the members, and we want to pay you back. We want to start doing more regular lives with you, and we're going to be doing one this Friday at 7. We're going to actually check out the time to make sure we're not doing it at the same time as Tim, because Tim now does a members live, I think actually every Friday. So this Friday, I'll review the time and come with your questions. It's going to be all about helping you buy a vehicle. So you can bring questions about, is this the right interest rate? Is this the right price? What price should I expect? And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight in the Q&A, but that's what we want the membership to be about. We want to be there to save you thousands. Specifically, we talk about general ways to save you thousands on the show when we're reporting the news and giving you buyer's tips, but we really want to make the membership about that. Now, of course, I left my glass of water upstairs, so I'll try to get through this without coughing. But let's get right down to business and remove this little HP support. I'm here to support you. HP apparently wants to support me, but I'm hard-headed and I'll say no. So yeah, I love Star Wars, and well, you know the expression Sith deal in absolutes. Well, there's been a lot of absolutes on the market these days, and the auto news market, saying that you should completely avoid the auto market. Do not buy. And I've got an episode coming out on that. So we'll cover that specifically, a little 15-minute episode with Marie and I in it. So you'll want to catch that, because the whole market's saying don't buy. And I'd say, well, only Sith deal in absolutes. And I don't agree. The same people were telling you not to buy. Well, some people, I think of Scotty, and Scotty's been telling you not to buy a new vehicle for the longest time I can remember. He just doesn't like new vehicles, of course. As a mechanic, he loves it when you buy an old vehicle that he can repair.
But it's not everybody that can do that all the time.
Almost every mechanic I know is all about, buy those old vehicles, buy those older vehicles,
cheaper, and
save money. But they work on them themselves, and then they also have their own oil stains all over their yards. I don't understand. Mechanics' vehicles seem to often be leaking oil all over. At least my friends that are mechanics, my friends that are watching that are mechanics, they'll understand. But then there's also that small percentage that just don't want any hassle. They work on them all day, and they have newer vehicles, and they don't want to be left on foot. Special thank you to Danny, who prepared Marie's Maverick. So he did a great job preparing Marie's Maverick.
And did a beautiful job.
Yes, that was really, really good of him. And just have to pop this up before we get down to business here. Only a Sith deals in absolute, so it is absolutely not a horrible time to buy a vehicle, and it wasn't in 21 and it wasn't in 2022 when they're saying don't buy, it's a horrible time. It's all about the deal that you work out with your dealer. You got to, first of all, these days, you've got to order from the right dealer, because otherwise it can be disastrous. And we've got a few questions pre-programmed into the show about people that have had really bad experiences. Just saying that, Ford, bad word, essentially screwed me over because, the price doubled. We'll be talking about that. That's almost always, that's the dealer. So you got to order from the right dealer these days, and you got to work out the right price. One of the comments was, don't ever buy at MSRP. Well, that's basically, the deal these days. And we've bought at MSRP, and we've actually fared really well. We made money actually buying at MSRP and then selling, basically a year later. So we'll be talking about that. Now down to the real show. So we've given everyone time to get into the show. We start at 7:30. We talk for a few minutes, let everyone get in, run through the show. Now, episode 1. Just got to get back to where we were at with this here. So episode 1 here, we're going to be talking about the state of dealer inventory. So the state of dealer inventory is good news, really good news here. A lot of Mavericks are starting to get scheduled. A lot of Mavericks are even also showing up. We went from getting about 1 to 2 Mavericks per month to sometimes no Mavericks in a month. And we just received 6. I'll be talking specifically tonight about 5, all about the information about, what are they, when were they ordered, how long did it take, did they get pushed back and moved around and beaten up. So we'll be talking all about that. That will be interesting. But for now, we're just going to talk about dealer inventory. F-150s, they're starting to build up in lots. And if you're a GM fan, well, you can plan on getting a GM or a Chevrolet or a Colorado at from the dealer. And GM, you might actually even get a little bit, $1,000 off or $1,500 off. Ford right now in the States, actually in the United States, had a bit of a promotion in regards to interest rate. Here we still have that promotion going on, low, very, very low interest on a 2022 F-150. If you can find one new, it's at 1.99% interest. However, if you're going to lease, and I recommend leasing for many reasons that I don't have time to get into tonight, but if you're going to lease, I'd actually suggest pay a little more because it's odd getting a 2023. It's not going to, you're going to spend, let's say, an extra $90 a month or $100 a month. But I think it's well worth it in regards to trade value, because 2 years down the road, if you feel like trading again, it's going to be worth about $4,000 or $5,000 more. And I'd also highly recommend, the model I recommend is either leasing a Tremor or an F-150 302 Sport. And here's the thing, there's not a huge difference in price between a 302 Sport and an F-150 Tremor if you can handle the 5.5-foot box. And here's the other really key thing to keep in mind, an XLT 300 versus a 302 Sport, there's about $85, $90 difference on the lease. But in 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, you've got a vehicle that's got a trade value, at least in Canadian dollars. The Sport is worth about $10,000 more. That is going to be a fun trade to have. It's going to be worth more, almost certainly worth more than a lot more than your residual. That means your buy it back price. And don't think with a lease you have to give back your keys. The dealer, some dirty dealers want you to think you have to give back your keys at the end of the lease. No. At Ford, it's a lease with option to buy. So essentially, it's a lot like a purchase. It's a purchase disguised as a lease. So it's a no risk purchase. Because when you have a purchase, let's say you finance 84 months as most people on the market do now, you get to the 4-year mark and you go, oh, I'd like to trade in, and you know what? You might owe, let's say 30, and it might only be worth 20, in which case you have to refinance $10,000 on your next vehicle or cough up $10,000 cash or throw it on the credit card. Not fun at all. Brings up your prices on your next one. If you're on a lease at the end of the 4 years, worst case scenario, if your buy it back price is 30 and it's worth 20, you give back the keys. Marie, you want to tell them what you chose? You had this option. Were you going to purchase your lease, or purchase your Maverick, or lease your Maverick? Tell us about what you did while I run upstairs for some water.
Yeah, I lease it, and at first we calculate with the lease it was less per month. So we check, and we check with the 7 years buying option. It was more per month. So with that one, it costs less, and I can leave the lease sooner. So it's easier for me. And with the residual, I have a 50% residual on the full price of the car. So I can choose if I want to stay with that car at the end of the 4-year lease. And if not, I just give the key back. And what's surprising, and we will maybe talk about that more after, but all the accessories that I choose, we can put it in the residual, so I don't have to pay 100% now during the lease. So that's the good news. So the bed cover that I choose will have a 50% in the residual. So it was so perfect for me.
Now,
it costs less.
I love numbers. I'm a huge nerd for numbers. So I actually remember her residual being at 53% because she has 16,000 kilometers per year on her lease. And a 53% residual means she only pays 47% of the vehicle. Now, if your sales, important to order from the right dealer, because if your dealer has sales staff that actually can get off their butts and get to work, they're going to print out build and choose all the accessories, print them out on the Ford accessories and internal website, and it tells you what exact number, including the exact pennies, because if you're 1 penny off, the contract is not legitimate, and Ford will make the client come back and sign. You can't just say, I'll pay the difference. No, re-signing the whole contracts. But if you get it right down to the correct penny, you only pay 47% of your roll-up cover. It was $1,600 Canadian. But when you're only paying 47% of it, so you're paying less than $800 spread out over 4 years. What's great is if Marie keeps her Maverick, let's say 1 or 2 years, depending on when there's a plug-in Maverick available, well, on trade, the Maverick's going to be worth the same whether it has a roll-up cover or not. So what's really cool is you can take that roll-up cover off, which you'll have paid 1/4. Let's say in a year you trade it in. You'll have paid 1/4 of $800. So $200, right? Yeah. So you'll have paid $200, and that roll-up cover is now hers. $200 for a $1,600 roll-up cover.
But I guess some dealer will check the contract and said, "Oh, you have this with the car. I want it back if I take back the car." No, they don't check that much.
At the end of a lease, if you have to give back the vehicle to the manufacturer, Yes, the manufacturer, if you residualize those parts, they're not yours if you're sending the vehicle back. But the only reason you'd be sending the vehicle back is if it's worth way less than the buy it back price. And the Maverick is not going to be worth way less. The F-150 is not going to be worth much less than those buyback prices. In 10 years, for an entire dealership, I've never once seen an F-150 get sent back to Ford. They're always worth more than the buy it back prices
the
at the
dealer
end.
who buy it.
Now, some dealers on the trade will say, no, I'm buying you this vehicle and I have to have that cover. They just want an easier sale, because when you put something for sale on the internet, you can't be like, hey, we're selling this Maverick and we're asking $1,000 or $2,000 more than anyone else because it has some accessories. That's not how internet used purchasing goes down. In reality, whether there's a hard top cover or not, the vehicle needs to be advertised at the same price and will sell at the same price. Mind you, a cover will make their sale a little easier. So make their life a little harder and keep your accessories. Now, there's some that only make sense to leave on the vehicle. A plastic cover inside the bed, you don't take that out because they can't resell it. People are going to laugh at them like, you're trying to sell me a truck with a painted, metallic bed. I can't use the truck as a truck if it doesn't have a bed cover or at least a bed mat like I threw on mine, because my electric truck is a fancy boys truck, I guess. I thought I'd have the Raptor at the same time to do any hard work, but it's actually going to help us rebuild a cottage. So I call myself a fancy guy, but we'll be working construction on the cottage, and the Lightning's going to help out. So will the Maverick. So stay tuned for a lot of towing videos. Now, John Ashton.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. John Ashton, thank you for the $5 tips. He says, hello, Johnny and Mary. Hope you're having a good night. So yes, thank you so much to being here with us.
Thank you very much. Always appreciated the added help. Thank you very much. Now, talking about dealer inventory is going up everywhere, and the automotive community is reacting like this is a crisis. They're talking about how, Ben Hardy was talking about how sales volumes have come down from 2019. Well, yeah, they absolutely have. And they're the lowest in 2022. That's because so many less vehicles were made. Millions of less vehicles were not made that were supposed to be made. So yeah, it's not, you look back right now, they're looking at 2022, and how they're seeing it is, hey, this is evidence that the auto market's completely crashed and you shouldn't buy unless, don't buy and wait until there's these huge rebates. And like I said in last week's live, models that have, month after month, huge rebates on them, they also have horrible resale, and they have these huge rebates because generally people, you have to pay them to take them. You feel like a winner getting that rebate up front, but you're really going to feel like a huge loser when you go to sell that vehicle at the end. And often they're not the most reliable. Generally, they're less reliable. Now, the vehicles, people, and we'll get to this in the Q&A, but one person said, only complete idiots and also used the word morons pay MSRP. Well, I paid a Bronco at MSRP, and I was totally okay with that. And that Bronco, for almost a year of driving and 20,000 kilometers, cost me $2,000 in depreciation.
Not that bad. And we had so much fun.
Had a lot of fun. Yeah, and we didn't lose any money at all, actually, on our blue Bronco. So paying MSRP can be good. It all depends on, and I know someone who paid MSRP, of course, for their Lightning. They're all selling at MSRP. And he had an offer $50,000 more than what he paid for his.
Wow. That's
Mind you, it was to be exported. It breaks some Canadian Ford rules. So he didn't export it. He knew it was going to get exported, but he could have taken $50,000, put it in his pocket, and gone all the way to the bank laughing. Is he, is someone who paid a Lightning at MSRP an idiot? No, not at all. So we'll get to that. We'll cover that. But the state of dealer inventory is that inventories are up. This does not indicate that there is an absolute crisis now. Remember, volume is all about volume over the year, and traditionally winter volume is low. So, and anyways, January and February was higher than December. February was higher than January. So far, we're trending up. So I do believe prices are going to continue to increase, not nearly as dramatically as they did 2022. And 2022 price increases made up for 2021 lack of price increases. 2020 and 2021 automakers were actually quite worried that, you know, there would be a crisis and that, you know, people would just all of a sudden stop buying. Those interest rate increases scared them because they figured shoppers, us buyers, we'd stop buying and they'd be ruined. So in 2020, barely any price increases. 2021, barely any price increases. 2022, what happened? They made up for 2 years of next to no price increases. I couldn't believe it. F-150s weren't going up in price, or basically not going up in price and not going up in interest for 2 years straight. And the inventory kept going lower and lower. And I hate to admit this, but I was thinking they need to increase the interest rate or increase the price. They've got to slow down purchases. We're running out. We did run out. It was mayhem. We ran out. And now we have vehicles. They're still not up to where they were 2018, 2019. But we're not that far off. I'd say before, I was saying earlier about 2 months ago, 2 months ago, we only had about a fourth of what we once had. Well, now I'd say we're only missing about 30%. So we're missing in certain models. Still not very many Broncos, but we're starting to get Explorers. We're starting to get Edges, and all manufacturers. Basically, what's going on at Ford is going down basically at all manufacturers. So inventory's up. I think prices we're not gonna have those crazy increases we saw in 2022. So in 2023, we're gonna have some either no increases or very slight increases. Well, slight, I don't expect the F-150 to go up 10% this year, but 4 or 5%, yes, I would expect it to go up anywhere from 2 to 5%. But I hope if inventories are still high enough to see better interest rates. I think that's where we're going to see the promotions, and you're going to appreciate that when it comes time to reselling your F-150 or your Maverick. Now, you paid your Maverick at MSRP, and instantly from owning it, it's already worth thousands of dollars more, basically from what you paid. Ford, you got a price protection, not a price protection anymore, a special rebate. And with that special rebate, if you were to sell your Maverick yourself, you could basically make $8,000. So even if you would have paid it MSRP, it's still worth more than that.
Yeah, you saw used one being sell at higher pricing than the new, so
than yours. So patience pays off. So that is the state of dealer inventories, and that is the end of episode 1 for this live. Now we're going into episode 2. So let's get this all ordered up here so that we're all on the same page. I guess they didn't transfer over. I'm really sorry, Marie. I told you that we would have, episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I planned it out on the phone, and the phone isn't connected right now, so I'm sorry about that. It didn't transfer over with these other photos, but here you are looking pretty happy. Just a heads up, we've got videos just came out on the Maverick, so if you're a big Maverick fan and you want to see, what does it drive like? How does it handle? What are our thoughts? Watch those quick little videos. Now, Ford Mavericks that have arrived, I've got great info on that, and I've got all sorts of notes. So let's start episode 2. Ford Mavericks that are arriving at dealers. Finally, we have some hybrids actually showing up at dealers. And they are showing up with spray and bed liner. I think it actually caused her about a 1-month delay because she was stuck at the body shop for a month, and that's probably an issue with the bed liner. So even though Ford's saying there's space for it, I think that Marie got a month delay.
But a little delay.
A little delay. So love that red color.
But I'm happy with that.
Now this is a red hybrid XLT luxury with bed liner. It's a pre-order from February 1st, 2022. And it is a September order confirmed and enrolled because, I did that work. So it was done right. First, for day 1, September order confirmed and enrolled of 2022. Then it was built the 14th of February and delivered the 17th of March. A lot of my dealers' Mavericks were basically built the same day or within a few days of each other. So it's starting to make me think that dealers kind of do have, okay, now it's this dealer's turn. So that can play a part. But the most important thing is find a dealer that is going to enroll and is going to confirm your order and that knows what they are doing. Knowing about what's constrained makes a huge difference on when you get your Maverick or your Bronco. And of course, we like ordering from Ford. We've always been Ford fans. You order, you get your price reserved. So that was the red one. Now let's just go back here. We just covered the red one here. Now let's talk about the next Maverick we got in, and this is the hybrid XLT luxury. So that's the one right after. It's this white one here. So the white one popping up on the screen, I'll move my big old head. So that is a hybrid XLT luxury with Copilot 360. That was ordered December 15th, 2022.
Wow.
Sorry, 2021.
Okay.
My error.
I was like,
so yeah, quick. That was ordered a little bit past yours. So that was a December 15th, 2021 and confirmed and enrolled October 19th, 2022. Now, the confirmed and enrolled later because dealers still get their allotments, a certain amount of allotments. So if the whole dealership generally put them in a little bit later, at least in Canada, you weren't completely burnt. And I was saying this back like, hey, if your dealer doesn't put it in, right day one, even if they put it in day 3 or day 4, as long as they're putting all theirs in all at once, ideally they put them in as quick as possible. But at least in Canada, it worked out that, confirmed on the 19th and it still came in. So good news there. Now, the rest of the story behind this one is it was confirmed and enrolled October 19th, 2022, and 12 days from entering the factory. Sorry, it took 12 days from when it entered the factory to when it was actually produced. So February 10th, it was sent to the plant. This would be now in 2022. The 16th, it was sent to the body shop, and then trim line the 21st. So 12 days from when it went into the factory and it being done. It was officially produced the 22nd of February, and then February 26th, it was shipped. Arrived in Illinois March 5th. Of course, it had a slight little stall in Arizona. Hers got stalled in Arizona for weeks, but it was probably just an error in the system, or maybe it actually got stalled in Arizona, but the transport was a little long on Marie's, but on this one, March 5th, it was in Illinois, arrived in Canada and at the dealer for the 17th of March. Now, if we go back, we've got our third one to talk about here. So we did the red, we did the white. So now, right after the white, we've got that blue XL with Copilot 360. So it is a hybrid. So sorry, skip right past here. And get right on topic here. We got this blue one, as you can see from the tailgate. You've got a nice little hybrid there, and it actually has Copilot 360 and a hitch. And that's a standalone hitch. It's not a luxury package. So the hitch didn't seem to cause it too many problems now. It was ordered October 2022 and balanced out. Sorry, that'd be October 2021, and then it balanced out January 12th, 2022. So balanced out, they realized we're not going to be making this. Move on, it's going to turn into a 23. It was then confirmed as a 2023 on October 13th, and January 12th, 2023, scheduled to the week of February 13th. Again, you've got all our Mavericks getting built basically right around the 13th and 14th. So January 12th, 2023, it was scheduled to the week of February 13th. So vehicles were getting scheduled, these Mavericks, 1 month and 1 day later. So generally early January for February scheduling according to the system. Now, January 12th, 2023, scheduled to the week of February 13th. January 28th, scheduled to the day of the 16th. So it goes from being, vehicles at Ford go from being scheduled the week of to a specific day. And then if you're unlucky, it can get pushed. This one, Well, January 28th, scheduled to the day of the 16th. February 10th, it was sent to the plant. So it didn't get pushed. February 15th, sent to body shop. So in plant, then body shop, 5 days. Produced February 20th. So another 5 days. So 10 days and released, officially released. So someone typed in, it's done, it's ready on the 21st of February. Then February 26th, it was in transit and shipped. It didn't sit around for a month like yours, Marie, but guess what? It doesn't have a spray and bed liner. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. So it straight off, basically, someone raised their hand on the 21st, said it's ready to go. And then the 26th, it was in transit and shipped. The 27th, made it to Arizona. March 5th, at the Gateway in Illinois, it's called Gateway, Illinois. I don't know why anyone would call a place Gateway, unless it's a gateway to Hades. But anyways, hopefully this is a really nice place, but it's called Gateway, Illinois. Seems devilish to me, but March 7th, Chicago. March 17th, showed up at the dealer. Now, let's talk about J57P. So J57P is an XL EcoBoost with 4K towing that came in. It was ordered September 29th, 2022. And it's confirmed. It's a confirmed order and enrolled, accepted on the 19th of October. So for the system to finally say, yeah, we have it, everything's enrolled, everything's confirmed. There was a bit of a delay there. January 12th, scheduled to the week of February 6th. January 13th, scheduled to the day of February 10th. So schedules it down to a more precise time. January 27th, scheduled to the week of the 13th of February, and then on January 28th, scheduled to the day of the 17th. So it got pushed around. Sent to the plant, actually in the end, on the 10th of February. So whatever. And then it was at the body shop the 16th, and it was produced and released for the 20th of February. So sometimes something can get pushed back, and then somehow it, passes on its original date anyways. Shipped the 26th of February and arrived the 17th of March. So we can kind of see from, a lot of people have been asking, how long from factory to my dealership? Even with having to deal with a little bit of border delay, a second border delay, of course, because they're, made in Mexico, US border, and then the Canadian border, which seems to add about a week because they make it to Chicago, as you can see, and then about a week later, they make it here. So, here on the 5th of March, it was Illinois, the 7th, Chicago. Then from Chicago, it crosses the border the 17th, so about 10 days once in Canada. But if you're in the US, you can say, what is that, about 2 to 3 weeks? And if you're in Canada, 3 to 4 weeks.
That's good news for Canada.
Very good news. Now, I've got another one to talk about. And the next one is my brother. He ordered one up for a client, and it's a hybrid XLT luxury with roll-up cover from the factory. So that's supposed to be deadly, right? It's a deadly sin. You don't ever do that. Ends in immediate divorce with Ford, and you go live in different houses or apartments, depending on if there's any money for a house. These days, house prices, I guess it'll be 2 apartments. But it's a hybrid XLT luxury with roll-up cover from factory, ordered the 23rd of February, 2022. And this is why I was telling people, go pre-order at a dealer that takes pre-orders, because you're going to be in line with them. So my local dealership, that's what they did. They didn't want everyone rushing in and having, a couple hundred people within the same 2, 3, 4 days fighting. They didn't want that, Black Friday madness where people punch each other or run each other over for a TV, or they're, a tickle me Elmo, sorry. No ridiculous shenanigans. And they did these pre-orders. Well, here's one that paid off. It actually passed yours. It beat yours, and has a darn roll-up cover that we didn't take from the order. So you're paying it, yes, a little more, because we didn't want to take that risk. But here it got produced, so you never know. The Ford can say, do take spray and bed liners, you'll be fine, and probably caused a month delay. And here you got beaten by someone that ordered way after you and had the exact same build. It's a hybrid XLT luxury with roll up from factory, which we knew we wanted because it's really nice. And they ordered February 23rd, 2022. Then on November 30th, 2022, then the order was, I believe, confirmed. I'm still waiting for an answer from my brother to know if it really was properly confirmed, because Ford is saying confirm all your orders, but they're still delivering a certain percentage, even if they're not confirmed orders in general. But I want to find out with the Maverick in particular, could that work? Knowing my brother, I don't know if he had time to actually confirm that, but likely. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyways, make sure you order from dealers that confirm your orders and enroll them. You want to increase your chances. Now, Marie, I know you have a question, and that works out perfectly.
In fact, it's not a question. It's an interesting fact. Peace out with Paul. Just replied to you and said, just so you know, Gateway, Illinois is referring to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri, on the Mississippi River. So the Gateway Arch is considered the gateway to the westward movement in the, I don't know that number in English.
1800s.
1800, thank you.
See,
Thank you for the fact.
Thank you very much. And I've listened to her try to say, 1500 Ram before. So I knew right away we were talking about something in the hundreds. French people can't speak math. I'm going to assume they can do math, because France, at some point, I'm sure they maybe won one or two wars.
I would say 1,800.
France wins battles, then they lose wars, but...
Oh, John.
It's because they can't do the math. They can't keep their troops fed
Be kind.
or clothed.
I cook you dinner. Be kind.
You keep me clothed, and you wash my clothes, and you feed me, so I have to be kind. That's true.
It doesn't matter if I cannot say the number in English. I do all the rest.
You do all the rest, but I'm one person. I bet if you tried to do the logistics between, hundreds of me's.
The old-fashioned way for French people to say numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not
So French people can't say 1800s.
No,
and
1,800.
And when I speak French, I'll say 1800, and people will look at me like, I think they're looking at me like I'm crazy, or like...
No, you're just an old person.
This man is not a witch, obviously I'm a man, but this guy's a wizard. Like, what magical language is he speaking? But anywho, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Always make sure that you meet someone that is a complete different culture than you. It'll keep things entertaining, and you'll always have something to fight about. Now, I think you just read a comment.
No, that's fine. No, okay. I was laughing at you again.
Okay, so great. So that concludes episode 2. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about Ford Mavericks that have actually arrived, and some really weird things. Now, we did a whole an episode when you got your Maverick. You can go check that out. We talked about what your Maverick was missing, and here's the big key. Now, we've removed things from our order, and we didn't take a roll-up cover because we didn't want it to slow things down. I've got to say, if you have taken things off, and I do still suggest it as a general rule of thumb, take enough risks to have success, but don't take excessive risks. Well, with your Maverick order, we didn't want to take excessive risks, so we didn't have the roll-up cover, and I even got you little door sills. Your price actually came down after adding those little door sills and the floor mats. But luckily, your floor mats, we weren't back ordered. We had them in stock, but the little door sills that say Maverick, you're going to get. But I should have ordered them in advance. And your roll-up cover, I don't know if we're talking days, weeks, or months. It's just back ordered.
Yeah, that's the accessories that I wanted to see the most.
But if you would have ordered it in advance, a nasty dealer would say, you order it in advance, we're not storing this here, pay for it. And then instead of your bed cover, $1,600 bed cover, and it's probably going to cost you $200 or $400, depending on whether you keep the truck for 1 or 2 years, would have cost you $1,600 and taxes.
Yeah, you cannot.
We pay
put it in the
15%
lease.
tax.
Yeah.
We here in Quebec, we truly believe that people that work need to make sure they pay for everyone. So if you're middle class, you pay for a lot of stuff. So you get taxed everywhere. And well, 15% tax when you purchase, and then 40 whatever percent income tax. But anywho, that's a different story for a different day. But it's important we didn't pay for it in advance. But if a dealer has enough room to stock your part, order it, 4, 5, 6 weeks before even order it 2 months before your Maverick. Go out and order it tomorrow.
And you never know, because my Maverick was supposed to arrive 1 month before. So we never know if you're going to get your other accessories way before the Maverick. Yeah.
So I've said it before that I'm wrong. And I also point out when other people are wrong. I did it in just last week's live. I'm going to point out here for all you Bronco fans, I like to kind of consider myself joking around saying I'm Johnny Bronco, but I was wrong. So episode 3, Ford Bronco, engine details, and how I was horribly wrong. So welcome to now episode 3 of this live. Now I was horribly wrong because I thought right behind us this was the ultimate Bronco or a Badlands. Always in between the two. I've always argued that the Badlands is actually a little bit more of the ultimate Bronco, ignoring the Raptor, which is just too hard to get your hands on. And I've always been all about the 2.7 liter. I was completely right saying that the 2.7 liter is a very reliable engine, that the engines that blew would be very isolated, and if ever the problem became larger, there'd be a huge recall, but there was probably just going to be a singled out situation where people would, end up getting kind of contacted and told, we need to switch your engine. Or they wouldn't be able to know exactly who it is, and it'd be as soon as your engine blows, we're so sorry, here's your new engine. We've put a few aside. We knew this was going to happen. We're so sorry, but we didn't know who. So sorry for the inconvenience, and then you get your Bronco, hopefully, 2 to 3 weeks later. So I've always stood up for the 2.7 reliability. It's a fantastic engine. I still think it's a fantastic engine. And, either in a Badlands or a Wild Track or a Sasquatch Outer Banks, I was like, ultimate machines, amazing power. I've said it before, you walk into BM, you walk into Audi, you go to Mercedes, and you're going to end up having to dish out an extra $15,000 to $20,000 to go, to have miles per gallon. You're going to have to go AMG. You're going to have to go, Series S or Series M over at BMW. You add an extra M to BMW. I guess you get a BMMW. Cool, that's super clever, BMW. Add an extra letter you already have in your name. But anyways, that's how they make their performance model. And they are really cool, as much as I joke. When they're running and they're not broken, when the engines haven't blown because of an electronic failure, they're fantastic. BMW specific. I guess I'm saucy tonight again. I'll pet some more cats backwards and get my eyes scratched out. But I've dealt with BMWs before, and I've seen some that it made no sense. One of my brothers had a BMW, and this thing was as reliable as, your typical Honda Civic story. And then I had a client today who had a 2002 Honda Civic, and he just put $4,400 of mechanical repairs into it. It was a hunk of junk. It's all about, and this is why I'll say it's all about percentages, and what breaks, and the percentage that those things breaks is the true important factors behind, what is reliable and what is not reliable. But I digress. 2.7 liter. For those of you that agreed, there was a community of us that agreed saying the 2.7 liter engine, we were completely right. But how was I completely wrong and horribly wrong? Well, I test drove the 2.3, and I had always test driven it. I had test driven a manual, and I at one point in a video I did say maybe it's how I drive manuals, but I was like, it still feels like it's enough if you don't have a Sasquatch package. And I was wrong, because I drove a Badlands. Get over to it here. I even have a bit of a video for it. Sorry, that's not the Badlands I drove. Here it is. So here's the Badlands that I drove, and it was a hoot. It's a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder 4 inline, so inline setup, super reliable. Mind you, the 2.3 liter, it's always bothered me that it's only direct injection and doesn't also have port injection. That worries me for long-term carbon buildup. That's a different story. In regards to fun, this was very fun to drive. And when I should have just looked at the specs. The performance specs, they're great. A lot of manufacturers, when they have these specs, are going to be charging you an extra, $10, $15, or $20,000 more. So it's a fantastic engine. I was wrong. I had a blast, and I'm going to have to take the time. I filmed a little, so I'm going to have to take the time to build up a video on it. But I put the pedal to the metal and was like, ho, fun times, smiles. And you know what? It was still, all about the smiles per gallon, because oddly, a Bronco 4-door, I've been comparing window sheets at least, and if you look at a Sasquatch 2.7 liter 4-door and you look at a 2.3 liter Sasquatch, there's not much difference in fuel economy. So it's not fantastic in regards to fuel efficiency because of the lift and the big tires. However, if you want, pretty decent fuel economy out of a Bronco, get an Outer Banks and keep those tires stock. The Outer Banks stock is lower, has smaller tires, and I know people that are getting what I would consider very good fuel economy for something that is less aerodynamic than a cow. And there's things like 2 cows wide, depends. Well, we're talking beef here, not dairy. Definitely not those little Jersey deers, but we're talking about 2 big old beef heifers side by side. And this thing it's worse. It just has horrible aerodynamics, but it's all part of the appeal. It looks amazing. The Scout back in the 60s or 70s wasn't aerodynamic at all either. They looked great. The 60s and 70s Broncos looked great. Mm-hmm. So, and to anyone that says, "Oh, look at Ford, they copied Jeep with the Bronco," I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Bronco came out before the Jeep, other than like the military Jeep, but anyways, the Jeep name, Wrangler and whatnot, I think the Bronco came out first, but
we need to do a search.
We'll have to do a proper search. Now, that covers everything I needed to cover for the Ford Bronco. I just want to say out here, I'm wrong and said I'm not at price per. Califor 2A is at a dealer, and they said you're not price protected. Well, if they took your driver's license, if they had you sign a build sheet, and if they had you sign a lease agreement or a purchase agreement, well, then they put in the paperwork, and the price you won't be price protected, but you will have a special rebate. So try to see if Ford customer service can let you know if they see a special rebate in the system, because they might just not know how to look it up. Or, you've got California in your name, and if you're in the California area, I know dealers out there generally want to either, have a canceled order so that they can sell it for way over MSRP. So it might be one of those things where they're like, you know what? Either we're going to sell this over MSRP and make, let's say they sell it $5,000 over MSRP versus selling to you at MSRP, but keeping your special rebate, which, might only be, depending on what your equipment and model, let's say it's about $2,500. Well, maybe they're just looking at it as, well, if you walk away from the sale, they're going to make $5,000. And if you take your sale, they're going to make an extra $2,500. Maybe they see that as a compromise. But I would call Ford customer service, because if you can get them to confirm that you do have a special rebate, it's pretty, you need to just tell them no. And I know out here we have consumer protection. The Consumer Protection Agency. So, we can actually have a government agency that can help to make sure that shady practices aren't done. Now, of course, when you order, there's a huge difference between Ford and the dealer, and we're going to cover that in the Q&A coming right up. We're almost there. We've just got to quickly cover episode 4. So we're going to finish up. Really, I'm going to be answering your question more in detail when we get to the Q&A, because I do want to cover that. I do think we have time. It's actually, already been almost an hour. So I'm wondering, actually, episode 4, recalls and consumer reports reliability studies. I'll cover that really quickly. I just want to say that Ford has a lot of recalls. They take responsibility for their issues, and they want their product to be good. They want you to be satisfied with your product. And sometimes some of the recalls are just, I feel unimportant. You know, there was, what was it, 11 millimeters of Maverick airbag overinflating. I don't think because of 11 millimeters I'm gonna break my neck. You know, I can handle 11 millimeters, but anyways, sometimes the recalls are also just programming for, you know, the touchscreen. So speaking of which, the F-150 Lightning vehicle range update. So there's been an update on the F-150 Lightning. It's an over-the-air update, so you want to make sure that your Lightning is connected to the Wi-Fi of your home so that it can take that new programming in. And what that new programming is going to do is it's going to actually bother you and upset you much less. So right now, when, let's say, cold weather would come along, the system right away, you'd step in, you're fully charged, and it would say, yeah, you have 300, let's say it's very, very cold. You get in and right away it would say you have 300 kilometers to empty. Or, you know, 100 and 200 miles, 220 miles. Yeah, I think the math, 220 or 230. But anyways, it would tell you right away the truth. And that was really upsetting people because they're like, wow, if it's already this little, oh, it's cold out. It's gonna, you know, cut again in half. No, it was just telling you the truth right away. Now they're gonna slowly lie to you. I mean, they're gonna slowly get you to realize the truth. So I guess you're gonna get in, and the range is gonna be a much higher. And anyways, temperatures throughout a day can really, from day to day, can change a lot. You can be extremely cold one day in the morning, and then half decent come end of day or the next day. So you're going to get in, you're going to have more range showing up, and it's going to correct itself more, you could say, live. There are more live updates on range because, of course, the weather changes drastically from day to day and even considerably from morning to afternoon. Heck, yesterday it was ridiculous. The weather could have blinded someone. You couldn't see anything. It was, and the northern wind was so cold. I actually found it cold. For me to find it cold,
it was hard to be
ridiculous.
Outside.
It was. I ran to get back inside, and that never happens. I'm usually just laughing when she's saying it's cold.
Snowflakes was hitting her face all over again. It was hard to see something.
And when the neighbor was screaming, I was actually laughing. I'm like, I can't handle the cold. And then 10 minutes later, I was just booking it for the house. But now Ford is, you know, realizing they're changing up their programming, so it's more, you know, updating more regularly. So you're not going to get in and they're not going to, you know, scare you and give you range anxiety as soon as you walk into your Lightning, which I'm very happy about, and still not a fan of. Well, the Blue Cruise oddly today worked pretty much for it only cut off, I think, once in my whole ride home. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to annoy me every 2 kilometers? But this morning when turning, I go to get out into the left lane. I've got the blinker on, and the adaptive cruise control slowed down, and that's just dangerous. I had a vehicle in the left lane, sleeping in the left lane, going slowly, thankfully, but I slowed down like, you know, 10%. And in slowing down 10% and pulling out, I didn't quite realize I was slowing down until I was in the other lane. I'm like, well, thankfully the other vehicle wasn't, you know, didn't rear end me. But your Maverick and my F-150, we are total criminals. We leave our ball mounts on our vehicles because we know there's some bad drivers out there that might just get angry and choose to drive into the back of us, fall asleep. Often in my area, it's so bad, people are on their phones.
And people doesn't see ice and just never stop at the time at this time.
No, it can be really, really icy out, and it's an actual ice storm. Yeah. And people are braking last minute at the lights and then sliding right through, and it's like...
following too close.
Like, how can you not realize there's ice out when you almost died walking to your vehicle? You almost flipped on your back and turtled up on your back.
Looks like horrible here, winter.
Now, I do want to, winter can be horrible. Now, I do want to mention that scheduling last week. Check your emails if you've ordered a Bronco Sport, an Econoline, an Edge, Expedition Explorer, F-150, Mach-E, Maverick, medium truck. Who ordered that? Come on. Ranger, Super Duty, and Transit. Now, Lincoln, they did some scheduling for Aviator. Nautilus. I don't think you're supposed to say naughty list, but it really does almost make me feel like it should be pronounced naughty list. But I'm sure that when Lincoln wouldn't like that one. So Navigator was also scheduled last week.
Oh, before you go more far, Tom Dinder said you were going to tell us the difference between an hybrid and plug-in hybrid. What kind of electric outlet do you need installed?
Oh, right, yes. So if you have a regular hybrid, I'm covering it in tomorrow's video at 7:30 p.m. And Marie was like, so what do I do to charge this? You just let go of the accelerator. And do the brakes charge the vehicle? No, the brakes do not charge the vehicle. Your electric engine is going to create greater resistance. And with that greater resistance, it's going to charge the battery. So you're going to use your brakes actually much less, to the point where your brakes might actually rust up and give you problems. So once in a while, purposely hit that brake. Less so in a regular hybrid, more so in a plug-in. In a plug-in, if it's a plug-in hybrid, generally the batteries range from 10 to 20 kilowatts, and you can actually charge that on the 110 volt plug. So an Escape, for example, is a 14.4 kilowatt, likely the battery size that the Maverick's going to get. And when you plug this in, you can plug it in and charge it overnight. You don't have to have a 220. And the mobile charger does come with the vehicle. Same thing for a Lincoln Corsair. Like you get a Lincoln Corsair, check in case some models don't have it. For example, the Lightning 511 Lariat comes with the big 80 amp charger and does not come with the mobile charger. But your mobile charger comes with most Fords, and you would not want to charge a full electric vehicle with these. It'd be far too slow unless you have the 220 volts. So Ford's mobile chargers, you can plug it to the 110 or to the 220. If you have a 220 plug, that's fine. For an electric vehicle, you can just live with the 110 volt plug and the mobile charger for Ford's plug-in hybrids. And if you don't have the 220 volt and you have an electric vehicle, you are going to need to buy that charger. And I can't believe it, but someone on YouTube has 500,000 views because they were, completely bumming out on the Lightning and Ford because this individual wasn't getting their charger. I kind of feel like that's like going to the water park on the absolute hottest day at 2 in the afternoon and complaining that there's lines. It's like
good comparison, by the way.
Except you can't reserve your place in line, months in advance. But this is, and
there's a lineup.
I'm criticizing him, not because he ordered his charger after his Lightning showed up at his dealer, but because now he's complaining, and I'm an idiot. I forgot to order her roll-up. Marie didn't pick her roll-up cover. It wasn't a guaranteed thing.
I didn't think about that too. We were waiting for so long for the Maverick, so we just said yes.
I'm still a dummy.
We'll see it when it arrives.
Yeah, but
we can believe it now.
2 months. I had trouble believing it when we knew that you're scheduled and you're being produced. That is when I should have ordered your. It's absolutely when I should have ordered your roll-up. Well, I should have asked, which roll-up do you want? I should have asked, do you want a hard roll-up? Do you want a soft roll-up? Do you want to do the fold-up? Here's the pros and cons. I should have had that talk with you, and I didn't. But for an electric vehicle...
But I won't cry. I have the car.
Anyways.
That's the best thing.
It is. But for an electric vehicle, you should absolutely know that you're going to need a charger. And you should order this months in advance. I've had some chargers show up within 5 to 7 days, just like the website says it will. And mine actually I ordered it 3 months in advance. And after 2 months, when there was 1 month left, I still didn't have it. So
we're nervous because you need to call an electrician to do the job too after that.
I know. And
there's delay.
You need a charger. Otherwise, I'm not going to pay, a fortune on these fast chargers, and it's not been that great for the battery. So I wanted my at-home charger. So I ordered another one from the website, and the website took it and they sent me the first one. And I think it's kind of like when you have coffee in the morning and you haven't gone to the bathroom in a while and then it all happens at once. I think this also happened with the Ford
What,
Charger
you
company.
received 2 chargers?
My dealership received 2
Oh.
chargers in my name, and they were, cool and honest, and they called Ford up and Ford was like, yeah, we were going to contact you about that. Yeah, we sent you 2 chargers. We'd like one back. So these things happen, but you need to plan ahead. You don't walk. A restaurant's a better example. It's the city's most popular restaurant. You don't walk, in at 6 or 7 o'clock at night or whatever. People, I don't know what time's popular at restaurants. I don't go to restaurants. I like to cook at home. And I really like it when Marie cooks at home because that's even better. But I like the creative process of cooking when I do cook. But anywho, you don't walk into the busiest restaurant in the city and demand a table and then make a YouTube video of how, the city's best restaurant is total crap because they didn't give you a table and they didn't give you your food. It's like, anyways, YouTube sometimes drives me crazy because the most popular videos seem to be the most ridiculous, nonsensical, poorly thought out videos, but that are entertaining. So I guess entertainment sells, but I'm not willing to show my boobs as an expression. I'm not willing to show my boobs for popularity or be a boob. It's an expression in English. Being a boob is kind of like being a bit of a comical dummy. But anywho, yeah, here's I will show my dog though. This is Lily, and Lily tonight was doing tricks.
She loves cuddles.
She loves cuddles, and she was doing tricks for Salmon. So that's that. We've more than passed our time on this episode part. But anyways, I just want to cover there's been a few other recalls at Ford. We got off topic here. We'll get right back on. We've got demonstration and delivery hold for a safety recall. These are do not drive vehicles for the Ford, Bronco, Wildtrak, and Raptor models. And I'm just going to say Ford knows which models these are. Dealers are being contacted. They won't be able to deliver them until they check and possibly change something with the steering gear. So it's an internal component of the steering gear, and it may have been damaged during steering gear manufacturing. This damage to the steering gear may result in increased steering efforts and the potential to not be able to turn the steering wheel while driving. Who needs to turn the steering wheel when driving anyways? You just honk at people and they get out of the way. Increasing the risk of a crash. Well, I guess so. And speaking of my jokes that aren't very funny, people seem to have possibly really taken Ford's joke, and it was actually a joke and a real compliment to women, I think, on Women's Day. They're like, how could Ford make a men's only model commercial on Women's Day? And it's for the Ford Explorer, and it's just talking about Ford Explorer, men's edition. So no heated seats, no power steering, like no AC, no heated seats, no power windows, just basically, really uncomfortable and unpleasant vehicle. And they're like, this is your man's edition Explorer. And it's a joke. Because it makes you realize life is better with a wonderful woman in your life. It's so much more comfortable. Your clothes is clean. Your house, everything. My life is so much better because you're in it.
Thank you.
And I think Ford was saying, because kind of making a joke, it's a joke. They're saying the Explorer Man's Edition, like, look how unenjoyable your vehicle would be. Thank you, women. But they weren't saying thank you, women, because that's not funny. Always saying exactly what you mean isn't humor. So, I'd like to say that it would be really great and it was informative and it was comical.
Yeah, it's a subtle joke.
It's a subtle joke. And people took it like, how dare Ford publicize a men's edition Explorer on Women's Day? At some point, can we all just laugh together? And maybe we don't have to love each other, but can we work to like each other instead of work our pants off trying to find reasons to hate each other? I'm not enjoying this, these days. There seems to be a subsection of culture that
Cannot
looks
say
for a
something.
reason to hate
Yeah.
people. Like, can we hate Ford now? Can we hate GM now? We can always hate Dodge on this channel. That's okay. No, I'm kidding. I think Dodge does.
No.
Dodge's new
Calm.
electric Challenger has sound coming out of the back, and they're doing it right, and that's awesome. I love that. They're taking the risk to be like, you know what, an electric vehicle is going to make some sound. And it's not going to be some phony stuff coming out of the speakers. It's going to be real sound siphoned out from the electric motor up front. Frank Sonic, funny business going on with piping, like an organ, I guess, or a church. What are those fancy pianos at church? Organs? Anyways, they're going to make sound and it's going to be awesome. So Marine Vet is saying, I'm bailing myself out now. Yeah, because Marie kicked me under the table. I'm not
Like that?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to dislike any manufacturers, but it's always pros and cons. Okay, so demonstration and delivery holds. I think we've covered what I wanted to cover. Last week I talked about the transmission in, basically it could be a Bronco, it could be anything with a 10-speed at Ford. So a lot of models. It's a great transmission. However, for certain VINs, you'll be contacted by Ford. A bolt could come loose. They either said it could come loose or maybe an extra bolt is in the transmission, and it could actually make it so that the vehicle slides forward. Just a reminder to everyone, use your handbrake. It's always better. Helps your transmission last longer. And in this situation, could help you not have breakfast with your, Bronco or F-150 in your dining room. You don't want that thing sliding, from the yard into the dining room, through the living room and into the dining room. Isn't this how everyone envisions this type of situation?
Having breakfast with a Bronco.
Yeah, when we would actually often, even now with the Maverick, you're doing it. We're in the room and you're like, oh, I catch you looking down at you're like, I can see it. And then
I was waiting for that so for a long time. I can look at it by the window if I want to now.
And I thought you were looking at something like that. I was like, oh, something's going on with Maverick. I gotta go see this. And I'm looking down, I'm like, I can't see it. And then I realized I'm in my boxers in front of the window. So thankfully, no one was out yet. It was early. Won't do that again. You make a mistake once, you're human. You make the same mistake over and over, you're a not so smart human. Yes, congrats, Bob. I think that means he got, Bob in Toronto. Bob the Toronto.
Ordered a Lariat Trimmer Maverick in August, and it was shipped on March 9.
So because we're running out of, congratulations. And because we're running out of time, I'm going to go right through recalls and consumer reports, episode 4. Recalls and consumer reports, reliability studies. I'm going to say it real quick. Ford, we've covered it. They've got recalls. They want to have a product that, they don't just blame you for things that go wrong when it's on their end. They don't want to say, oh, well, it must be how you used your F-150 that your transmission, rolled off. Part broken in, you're going to pay a new transmission. No, they're like, hey, sorry, we want you to have a great experience. This isn't so great, but, here's a repaired or new transmission. So sorry for that. So Ford does recalls. And Ford does recalls also for, really, really small issues. There's one recall on a Lincoln going on, or that just went by, that was actually because there's like a quarter of a second of a chime, like a door chime, that it was one of the chimes, and they're like, you really need to make it to 4 seconds of door chime. So we made it to 3.75 seconds. We're going to do a recall. We got to be at 4 seconds. So looking just at recalls isn't a way of deciding whether a company has a good product. Heck, if we had humidifiers, and we bought 2 of the same brand from the same store, and they broke, one within 3 weeks, and we were just told, well, you have to communicate with the company. And they don't answer back, so bad service, horrible. Then the other one broke and had been several months, and they're like, oh no, they're only warranted for whatever it is, 1 month, when home appliances in Quebec legally are have to be guaranteed for 10 years. And I was like, it's $350. I'm not going to fight and argue and have to maybe go to small claims court, and then they won't show up, and then I'll win my case. And I'm not going to go through all that. I'll just, take the kick in the pants and, throw away $350. That's horrible customer service. And then I bought a dehumidifier from Costco because they're great. If they sell me a product that's bad, they're going to take care of me. And that's what Ford is doing. So Consumer Reports, basically, they like to look at how many times people go to the dealership within the first year for something that's not an oil change, and they treat it all the same. A blown engine or a door latch, a seat belt, belt ticking. Same thing. You have a recall because the seat belt positioning makes it hit a plastic, and Ford doesn't want you to hear that tick tick noise anymore. Well, that actually counts for, points against them, just like if they had, a motor blown. And that's just doesn't make sense to me. These things need to be weighted. A blown engine needs to count for 1,000 points, and a little seatbelt that goes tick 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 needs to be 1 point, as opposed to 1,000 points for a blown motor or transmission. So now we're at episode 5. Live questions and answers. So episode 5, live questions and answers. And I've got some real comical ones that have gone down, and I'm sure you'll have a few that have popped up as well. So I'm going to first start while Marie looks through those questions. I got one comment. Did Marie get a horrible deal and pay over MSRP? So someone new to the channel actually wrote, I'm sure you charged that poor girl way over MSRP and gave her a horrible deal and ripped her off on the accessories. You feel pretty ripped off on the accessories? You're going to end up paying... Would I
have a smile like that if it happened? No, I have a good deal. MSRP is a good deal, like you said at the beginning of the show. So, yeah, if I want to sell it now, I will make cash.
I think you would have been happy paying MSRP for your Maverick.
I wouldn't.
You would have. Your window sticker is what, 37,000?
Yeah.
37,655 Canadian. And if Marie would have paid MSRP, still a great deal because she could turn around and sell it for $43,000.
For me, MSRP is just normal. If you pay over, then it's not funny. But at MSRP, I won't complain.
If in regards to depreciation, if it's hunky-dory and it doesn't depreciate, MSRP can be a good deal. And Tesla, it's funny, Tesla's always at, you could say, MSRP. Everyone gets the same price. Even no matter how badly you treat the dealership or how well you treat the dealership, you're going to get the same price. And someone, of course, a Tesla lover, and that's okay. They're good. They're very interesting vehicles, and they have a lot of positive points to them. But someone wrote, why would anyone ever buy an EV from a gas company? I think they're thinking someone who would buy an EV from a gas company is a bit slow. And I don't agree with that. I don't think Tesla is the only one that makes a good EV. And, Teslas, they sometimes the paint comes off of them. Sometimes they're not assembled as well. They've gotten a lot better, but no one makes a perfect product. Pros and cons, but we were talking earlier, F-150 Lightning guy had someone I know had one of the earlier ones, and he got offered an extra $50,000 for it. He paid MSRP, so I don't think, I think we need to ideally go to a future where everyone gets the same deal. And if we need to do it so that everyone pays MSRP minus $2,000 as a compromise, then let's just do it that it's MSRP minus $3,000.
Will be easier.
But for everyone.
Will be like shopping at Walmart, for example. Any store.
Imagine if you have to go to Walmart and negotiate.
Yeah, you don't negotiate
for hours just to get an okay price. Yeah. No.
And it's easier. You lose less time as a customer. You don't have to go everywhere, talk for an hour or two to deal. Yeah, maybe it's the future. Just buy at the price.
I think it's gonna take away a very nasty and annoying aspect of car shopping, which is either wondering, did I get a good deal, or going through all sorts of dealers for all the different models you might like, and then finally deciding on the model, and then going through all sorts of dealers again for that model to finally get to the point where the dealer, you've spent so much time at the dealer that maybe they just don't want to see you anymore. And then you're gonna be like, why do I get a horrible service? I'm a great client. I'm here all the time. Ooh, well, time is money. And if you're there all the time, if you've been at a dealer before buying, you've spent like 10 hours or 12 hours at a dealer, and then you also want to get the vehicle at the price the dealership paid for it. So essentially they don't make any money. They actually might lose money because of, costs. Well, that doesn't make you you're a great buyer, but you're a horrible client for them. You're a bad customer for them. Anyways, that's a different story. I think everyone should be at a fair price. I know for your roll-up cover, it worked out really well. It's going to cost you $200 to $400 to have that roll-up cover in your name if you get another Maverick. Or maybe you'll even just sell it on the internet.
Yeah, and I felt in love with that cover when I saw the Maverick of our friend Russell in Florida last winter. So now I cannot go without it.
Now, that's the thing. That covers question 3 that I had from a user. Said it was a comment, left the comment that only incredibly stupid people pay MSRP and idiots pay over MSRP. I'd say we need to all work on not paying over MSRP because we got to get things a little under control. But MSRP is more or less the future for a lot of manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And 4th question, someone said, Ford doubled the price on my 2022 Escape and when they converted from a 2022 Escape to a 23 Escape. Prices did go up, but remember, they didn't double. But remember, the price went up, but you're getting a new model. So the redesigned model is going to be worth a lot more on trade. And will you get a special rebate? Well, price protection or a special rebate, depending on the model, depends on whether your dealer confirmed your order and enrolled your order. If you're at a manufacturer like GM, you order, too bad, forget the price when you ordered, forget the interest rate. You're definitely not getting that. Either the interest rate will go up likely or the price will go up. And that's just the way it is. So I like that you can lock in price with Ford, but make sure you get the right dealer that knows what they're doing so you don't get a lot of excessive delays because they allow you to throw all sorts of constraints on. And this is something that really frustrated me recently. I was on the phone for 31 minutes with a customer who's still going to keep their order at a dealer that didn't confirm, didn't enroll, and has every single possible constraint on their Maverick order. I spend 31 minutes explaining it all, and they're just like, oh, okay. I guess they're just like, oh, well, it's good to know that I got screwed, and then they didn't order at a dealership that knows what they're doing. So my only conclusion is some people like to get screwed. How else can I put it?
Okay, you're ready for a question now?
I'm ready.
Here,
I'm
from
primed.
The chat. So Mabsim said, what do you think about the 1.5 liter EcoBoost? I have had a 2.0 liter in many Fords, but thinking about the 1.5 in my wife's next Escape.
I love the 2 liter. I really love it. It's got a lot of power. The 1.5, I thought originally, in biased thought, and it wasn't like a I'm right type thought. It was just like, I'm worried it's going to be underpowered. And then we tried out the Bronco Sport together. We did a video on it. And if you go back way back in our early videos, I concluded that I liked the 1.5 liter. It's more than adequate. And it really reminds me of, let's say, a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder from Toyota. That or a 2.5 liter non-turboed Honda CR-V engine. Or a 2.5 liter Duratec engine from Ford. It's not bad. It's good. It's going to be more reliable than the 1.6 liter. For used vehicles, I wouldn't touch a 1.6 liter. A 1.5 4-cylinder is okay. And I expect the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder to actually be pretty reliable. A lot of it's based on the tech and the sort of like the tech and design of the 1 liter EcoBoost engine. And the 1 liter EcoBoost engine is an award winner. It's an impressive engine. So if you're not looking for a ton of power, and you're okay with some power, the 1.5 liter you'll be happy with, make sure to do an extended test drive. Ask if say, show up at the dealership, let's say at, 4, so you can get your information and really get all the intel you need, so that by 5 p.m. you can say, hey, it's like supper time. Could I just take this home and show my wife? So that way, maybe you've got, you've already had some snacks. So you can actually then go out and drive it for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes to get a good feel for it, Try to put on, 20, 30 miles on it to really get a good idea. And don't be afraid. The dealers, they exist so you can be more satisfied than if you ordered from the internet. So put that pedal to the metal, test it out. Drive it the way you would normally drive it, but also drive it in a somewhat, you could say like it's an emergency and I have to pass this vehicle situation, so that the day you actually need that extra power or you need the braking, you're not going to be disappointed and say, I bought the wrong vehicle. And drive it, don't just putt around town. Take it on the highway and go a little faster, maybe even than you normally would, or unless you already go really fast. But
yeah, just respect the speed limit, by the way.
Go a little fast. If you normally go, I'm going to say, I'm not going to say to do anything illegal, but do what you normally do so that you can know on your normal drive whether you're going to like it or not. I'm going to say I break the speed limit every single day. The speed limit's 100, and I don't do spot on 100. So when I test a vehicle, I need to go the speed I normally go to know, does this sound okay? Now we're getting close to Dave's show. Yeah. Let's take in a few questions and
quick.
Head over to All Terrain Nation with Dave.
Just Jeff Dysart wants to know any Bronco news today for us.
The Bronco news was just mostly, it's not news. A lot of people like M. Peugeot already knew that the 2.3 liter is a great engine. And the news is I was wrong, and the 2.3 liter engine is fantastic. To the point where this Everglades is actually available at MSRP at my local dealership. And I can't decide whether I would rather this 2.7 liter Wild Track also available at MSRP, or no, there's no Mavericks available. No Mavericks available. That's a very smart and intelligent choice.
But we already have one.
And I buy emotionally. I've always bought emotionally. I go with what I love, and it's like, this would be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. But if I get that, I have to get rid of the 2022 Mustang GT convertible. The Raptor is gone. That's our personal news. I've sold the Raptor. It cost me $2,000 to run for 5 months. Marie ran it. She was
I loved it.
Lady in the Raptor, and I guess you loved it.
Yeah, now it's different. With the Maverick, it's slower. Not slower, it's lower.
Oh, it is slower.
Lower.
It's lower and slower.
Yeah, I miss that big monster truck, but it's easier to park at my Maverick, and it's electric.
It's slower, it's lower, but you still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. But you love the Raptor too.
Yeah, I love both of them.
You hate
I love Bronco, so I love everything that Ford's does. Yeah.
But so far, the Bronco, what you really loved, its comfort as well as its turning radius and ease to park. You're a little happy lady. You're not all that little. You're actually pretty tall for a lady, but you really liked driving around in the Bronco. You can just whip it on a U-turn in town. So it's all good. It's a great vehicle. So I can't decide whether I'd go with a 2.3 liter, and M. Peugeot can send me a personal email saying, "Ha, I told you so," and that's cool. You go for it, buddy. You rub it in. I deserve it. Or a 2.7 liter Wild Track. And yes, these are two hardtops that are available. The people that ordered them felt they waited too long, and now they've moved on to different pastures. Not greener. Someone in the community just recently was saying, I got tired of waiting, and I got a Canyon, and that's way better. And I'm going to say I really like the Canyon, the Colorado AT4, all the AT4 models in their trucks, GM, I like. But price-wise, Maverick or Canyon, I think I'll take a Maverick. And if I'm going to go up to Canyon AT4 price, I'm going to feel silly that I didn't get a Bronco. Now, Tim, was it Tim's comment you want to pull out, or?
Oh, I don't know. I was on another
Oh,
one.
that's okay.
One last question to finish before Dave's show.
Yes.
And the other question will maybe keep it for the next live, or you can write it back on the next live if you want. So, Coastal Living said, if you lease a vehicle, can you still put mods on it, such as door speakers, wheels, fog lights, and etc.?
Oh, ask your specific dealer. There are a lot of accessories that you can, obviously, like mud guards, deflectors. That's not a problem, and they're actually usually residualized. If they're Ford accessories, you can put them on. Oh, as a general rule, Ford accessories you can throw on, and you can even residualize them, meaning you pay a percentage. So Maverick residual right now, 53%, 48 months, I believe 48 months. And yeah, 48 months. 16,000 kilometers, so Marie only pays 47% of those parts if she keeps it the full 4 years. And there's some parts you can even take off and keep if the dealer is buying back the vehicle. And if the dealer is buying back the vehicle, it doesn't matter how you modified the vehicle. Mind you, the dealer might not want to buy back the vehicle if you over modified it. Paint it pink with a paint roller, and the dealer is just gonna not want that vehicle back, or will offer you such a horrible price that you're like, no, I'll give it back to Ford at the end. But then when you give Ford a vehicle back at the end that wasn't properly modified with their accessories, you could have issues. So, keep the original mags, for example. If you think your vehicle might depreciate to the point that you have to send it back instead of the dealership buying it back, or another option, you buy it back, or you can sell your lease yourself. If you don't think any of those options are going to be available and you're going to be sending it back to Ford, make sure you have the original mags. Ford doesn't want what, you think the mags that you like that have, spiky chromed bullets coming out of it, you think they look really cool. Ford has the attitude of, okay, well, that's your style. We want the vehicle in a manner that appeals to the most people and with its original equipment. So keep your original equipment, folks.
Perfect.
So I think you called it. Dave is on now. Dave from All Terrain Nation, our buddy. And we want to thank Tim Bartz, the legend. Thanks for making it to the show tonight. I'm sorry. It popped up on the screen, your comment, but I missed it. So I'm going to have to scroll back with
Yeah, he was
Marie.
Responding to people. Yeah, because the chat was live at the end of the show.
Well, yeah, it was.
Thank you, Tim, for the help on the chat.
Thank you very much, Tim Bartz. Really appreciate. Sorry, Ford video guy. Got to use a secret name, just like I've got my secret name. It's Johnny. Has nothing to do with my real name, of course. And take care, folks.
His name is Bob.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys making it to the live, and really appreciate that so many of you, send us kind messages, great questions, and beyond that, you've also supported. A lot of you support us by hitting the thumbs button, which is really appreciated, and that bell notification to not miss out on future videos. When our regular videos end, if you watch another one of our videos, that's a great way to actually help our channel grow significantly so we can get more community members and more information. And to those of you that have become members, thank you so much for being members of the JCCR community. We do have a live this Friday that will not be at the same time as Tim's, and it will probably be aiming for about 20 minutes. So you'll just, we'll make sure we don't do that at the same time as Tim. So the time will be released later. Until next time, take care. We wish you all
more cars, more Maverick, and more power.
Take care, folks.